Hello, folks. I'm Roy Montgomery, and welcome back to the second part of our leadership lesson series titled Lead, Love, Laugh. As promised, we're going to talk a little bit about the span of control. This is something that I struggled with early on as a leader and occasionally pops up as an issue here and there. However, the most important thing I've learned over the past decade in my profession is that you can only truly positively impact those things within your span of control. The moment you begin to try to impact things outside of your span of power, the likelihood of a positive impact begins to decrease. However, that doesn't mean that you can't implement practices within your span of control that can lead to the outcome that you're looking for. The best leaders have a leadership toolbox, and they can pull from that toolbox the right tool to address the problems that arise throughout their careers. Some problems are simple ones. Simple problems have one or two causes and one effect. Some problems are complex. They have multiple causes and multiple effects. Then there are some wicked problems, and aptly called wicked because they have multiple causes, multiple effects, and multiple feedback loops. And they're frequently caused by societal issues. Good leaders, can usually solve problems, simple problems and complex problems. It's the wicked ones that become a little sticky. Wicked problems are usually societal problems, and they're much harder to solve, due in part to the required political, financial, and organizational capital that will be necessary to solve them. Capital that most leaders aren't willing to expend. In my experience, good leaders build up a repertoire of skills throughout their personal and professional lives. We get into the habit of solving problems and developing templates and macros that allow us to respond without much thought. We know what has worked in the past, so we will use a similar solution to address a similar problem in the future. We create ways to get to the answer much quicker, or at least getting to what we believe the solution is or the answer is. This tends to work in higher education and student affairs more specifically because, for the most part, we're not doing anything new or we're not addressing new problems. When you distill the issues down, the issues that we face in higher education and student affairs down to their root causes, we deal with a few core issues: mission creep, finances and budget, personnel, regulations, compliance, enrollment and retention. As you probably noticed, most of these things have a couple common threads that connect them. For the most part, we do an excellent job of temporarily addressing them, temporarily being the key word, of course. Using our toolbox of templates and macros, we put a band-aid on the issues and develop a new list of 1, 5, and 10-year strategic priorities that we know we will have to change by year 5 or even earlier. And then there are the wicked problems, the ones we can't seem to solve no matter how much energy, time, financial, and human resources we throw at them. Knowing that the literature in our professional networks are still talking about the same issues from decades ago is painful for those of us in higher education. Why? Because we know that we'll be talking about the same issues and problems in a decade. The most exciting example of this is when someone publishes an opinion piece or best-selling book on the downfall of American higher education as we know it. And they do that every 10 years or even more frequently. And 10, 20, and 30 years later, American higher education remains the industry leader. The glacial pace of change can be the most disheartening for leaders in higher education and education adjacent fields. As leaders, we are taught that our raison d'etre, or reason for existence, is to solve problems. We are paid the big bucks to fix problems, to pivot, to transform organizations, and to lead from the front. But what happens when we encounter a problem that we can't solve? What happens when there are so many interdependent variables, societal issues, and organizational pressures that our specific leadership toolbox doesn't have a tool for that problem? A simple response is this: we identify subject matter experts with the proper knowledge, skills, and abilities to help us augment our work. We build teams with diverse skill sets and experience. We clearly define what the problem is. Most of the time, complex problems and wicked problems aren't surface level. They have a constellation of issues that require us to delegate where appropriate. We motivate our teams and give them the support that they need to push the envelope, to think outside the box, and if necessary, to go back to the drawing board. If we are 5 years into a strategic plan and the environment has shifted, is our work still relevant? Or are we just executing for the sake of executing? Or just acting out the motions? Leading leaders is one of the most challenging jobs in the world. Knowing which problems are relevant now and which issues will be relevant in the future years is a master class that I don't think anyone is truly prepared to teach. There is always one more thing that you can do to improve the odds of success, and that one thing, as evidenced over the past 3 years, is being open to pivoting. I think of this metaphor. Suppose you're on a cruise ship from Miami to Jamaica and have a significant hull breach, or that's a break of the exterior ship's surface, and you're taking on water. At that moment, does your priority remain to get to Jamaica, or do you address the hull breach and keep the boat afloat? Also, is the doctor for the ship the most well-trained to help get the pumps working to get the water off the boat? Some leaders are taught that we throw all the resources and energy that we have behind addressing the critical issue at hand. Some are taught that those with special skills, knowledge, and abilities are best positioned to address the problem. In essence, the further the situation is outside of your span of control, the less likely you are, as a leader, to be able to influence the outcome positively. Bottom line, a leader's toolbox, whether a student leader, college administrator, corporate C-suite occupant, or government leader, must be willing to form a team of folks with a diverse skill set and trust them to do their very best each and every time. As a leader, I can hire experts, build and sharpen skills, establish priorities, and instill a sense of motivation. But when it comes to let my people do their work, getting out of their way is probably the best tool in my leadership toolbox. So, the next time we talk, we're going to be talking about how leaders must learn to love themselves, then someone else, before they can truly love someone else. Until then, please like or subscribe and keep your head up. And most importantly, lead, laugh, and love.